Hey everyone, Kitana here, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to my Astro community. In today's video, I'm going to tell you guys about all 12 houses in astrology. And in today's video, I'm going to tell you how the houses manifest in your chart and more importantly, in your life. So by the end of this video, your birth chart is going to make a lot more sense. So if you guys are new here, I'd love to have you a part of my Astro community. So go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want your own personal reading, go to my Etsy shop. It's linked down below, and I'll put the website on the screen. It's called theastrokit.com. So let's just get into these houses. Okay, so let's start with the first house. Now, the first house is associated with Aries, so that's a pretty easy way to think about it. The first house is your ascendant house, so whatever ascendant sign you have, that's the ruler of your first house. And really, your first house represents your identity. It's your personality. It also represents your physical appearance, how you approach life, and really how you perceive other people and how people perceive you. So overall, with first house, I would say the main thing is that it represents your identity. Now, if you have planets in the first house, that is so influential to your personality and so influential to your personality. Overall, your ascendant sign is so important to your personality, right? So whatever planets you have in the first house, it really does have an influence on your life in a pretty major way. So what I always recommend is that, let's say you're a Sag rising, but you have I don't know, Pluto in the first house, then Pluto is going to really influence your personality in almost like a Scorpio kind of way. So you might relate to being a Scorpio rising, even though you're a Sag rising. So yeah, just think about it like that. Also, another major thing is that whatever planet rules the sign of your first house is your chart ruler. So your chart ruler basically gives the flavor to your entire chart, and really sets the tone and theme for your whole life. So like I said, with Sagittarius, if you're Sag rising, your chart ruler is Jupiter. So that's kind of how you approach life in a very optimistic, expansive way. The list can go on, right? I have a whole ascendant series on my channel. But just think about that when it comes to planets in your first house. If you have a first house stellium even, you have a lot going on in terms of identity. So just think about that. So yeah, overall, the main takeaways for a first house is it's your identity, your physical body, your personality, and how you approach life, how you perceive life, and how people perceive you. Okay, so let's talk about second house. So second house is naturally associated with Taurus. So we can think about Taurus energy, right? Second house is all about your self-worth, your values, material possessions, money, and overall material gain. Okay, so second house is really important because it really shows you your self-worth and what you value. So whatever planet you have in the second house, or planets, or even the sign that rules the second house, it really shows you kind of how you feel about yourself. And second house really shows you almost like your childhood. A lot of times our self-worth and how we feel about ourselves is developed in childhood. So a lot of times with the second house, you can see okay, what your self-worth is it high, is it low? Sometimes people with Jupiter in the second house have really high self-worth, and because they have high self-worth, they make a lot of money. Whereas let's say you have Saturn in the second house, you might feel you might doubt yourself, you might doubt your self-worth a lot. So it really depends what planets you have there. And like I said, that really affects how you earn money. So second house is all about money, right? And how we earn our material possessions. It's all about material wealth. So in the second house as well, we can see what kind of material wealth we'll earn, how we will earn it, and really what we value when it comes to material wealth. For example, you could be someone who doesn't really even care about material wealth at all, and maybe you have a Pisces second house where it's you're more invested in spiritual value rather than physical value. Whereas if you have Taurus second house, you're all about your paper, you're all about your money. Same with Venus in the second house. Jupiter in the second house is a really good sign too. It's you're all about that paper, you're all about expanding your resources, expanding your finances. So yeah, second house is really important, especially when it comes to money, because your self-worth and your value is really tied to how much money you'll make. Because like I said earlier with my Saturn Jupiter example, if you have high self-worth, then you're more likely to kind of charge accordingly and make more money that way. But if you have low self-worth, or if your second house is kind of badly aspected, then that might affect your money earning skills or money earning ability. So yeah, overall with second house, the main takeaways are it's all about your self-worth, your self-value, how you value yourself, how much you value yourself, material possessions, money as well, and really how you earn these things and what you value most when it comes to material wealth. Okay, so let's talk about the third house. Okay, so third house is all about communication. Now, this house is naturally ruled by Gemini. Gemini is all about communication. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So this is a very active house. This house is kind of about intelligence too. It's all about like anything having to do with logistics, anything having to do with writing, blogging, speaking, anything having to do with communication. This is the house for that. It also kind of represents siblings too. It represents short distance travel. It represents driving too, which is like a little fun fact. Basically, with this house, we can see how we communicate in life, if we're comfortable communicating, if we're really fluid speakers, if we're great speakers, if we like to write, if we like to read, if we like to communicate with others. Like I said, third house, you can really see, it gives you like a peek into your childhood too. So sometimes if in your childhood, maybe you were shy or something, or maybe you were a very extroverted child, or you like to talk a lot. You can see that with your third house. It also shows, let's say you have like a writing talent or writing ability, you like to blog, you could look at your third house as well. And the planets in your third house really influence like your communication style and really your comfort with communication overall, I would say. Like if you had like, I don't know, like Jupiter in the third house, you're very comfortable with speaking. You like to speak your opinions. You like to I could kind of see that being like almost like a preaching type of person. Like you like to preach your ideas a lot. Whereas if you had Saturn in the third house, you might be like restrict your words more. So it all depends about your third house ruler, your third house sign, what planets you have there. Shows you your communication style, how comfortable you are communicating, and really your style of communication as well. Okay, so overall the main takeaways for your third house is basically your communication style, how you communicate, how you write, how you speak, and really how comfortable you are with communication and your ability to communicate with people. Okay, so let's talk about the fourth house. Okay, so the fourth house is naturally ruled by Cancer. So the fourth house is all about home, family, foundation, tradition, and it's also about your ancestral roots. So when I think about fourth house, like I said, we can think about Cancer, like the Cancer energy, but it's really all about that, like, tradition, like the family you come from, the home you grew up in, how you grew up, your kind of connection to your ancestors as well. So like I said with the other houses, the fourth house is really, it shows you a peek of your childhood. So with your fourth house, you can really see how you grew up, and how you grew up really influences your like life later down the line. So like if you think about fourth house and then the 10th house is kind of like your life like later down the line, fourth house really shows you what happened in your childhood to really make you who you are today. So with your fourth house ruler and planets you have there, you can really see what kind of energies influenced you kind of in your younger years, and how that manifests later in life. And with fourth house, it shows you kind of to like what planets you have there shows you what you value in terms of family. Like let's say you have a Leo fourth house, like maybe family is very important to you. It's really your heart, right? It's something you value a lot. Whereas if you had other planets in the fourth house, maybe like Saturn, or let's just say your fourth house isn't that well aspected, maybe like you had a challenging home dynamic growing up and maybe that influenced you in a certain way. So it really all depends. I know a certain one that really sticks out to me is like if you have Uranus in the fourth house, maybe you moved a lot as a kid, maybe your family dynamics changed a lot as a kid. So it all depends on the planets you have in your fourth house and what sign rules that house. And fourth house also can really represent kind of like your relationship with home. So if you're someone with like a Cancer fourth house, you love to be at home. Like you have a very emotional connection with your home, and that can manifest in an obviously very physical way, but you just spiritually feel very connected and very comfortable at home. Like having a nice home life is really important to you. And then also it can really represent your physical home. So like let's say you have Venus in the fourth house, then you love to have a beautiful home. You might grow up one day and buy a very beautiful house or have good luck with real estate or something like that. Like this can really suggest real estate as well. Like if you're interested in real estate, you could see that with the fourth house. But yeah, your fourth house is also called the IC, and your IC, like I said, really represents this ancestral connection. So you can see maybe what you inherited from your ancestors with the fourth house. I know in my family personally, like there's a lot of like Mercury energy. So like my fourth house is like Gemini, and my great grandpas were like writers and stuff. So I kind of inherited that same Mercury energy. So look at your fourth house and you could see what you maybe inherited from your ancestors. So yeah, overall, planets you have in the fourth house ruler really show you how important home is to you, what kind of foundations you have, where you come from. Also, and overall, the main takeaways with 4th house is that it represents your family, how you feel about family, your foundations, your traditions you grew up with maybe, your ancestral connection, and overall kind of like how you grew up in your childhood. And lastly, a bonus tip is that the 4th house can kind of represent your mother too, and kind of how she raised you. Okay, so let's talk about the 5th house. Okay, so the 5th house is really fun to talk about because it represents so many things, right? It's the natural house of Leo, and with the 5th house, we can see our dating life. It represents children as well. It also represents entertainment, hobbies, pleasure, overall this sense of fun and indulgence. And with the 5th house, how I really would explain it to people is that we can really see how we like to have fun, how we like to be entertained, how we like to socialize. 5th house is really about being social too. And 5th house is also about creativity. It's like about so much stuff, right? But really, I would say how it would manifest in your own chart. It shows you kind of like how you express yourself creatively, how you socialize with other people, your dating life. It also represents kind of like what kind of parent you will be, or what kind of children you will have, or how many children you'll have. Like for example, if you have like Jupiter in the 5th, you might have a lot of children, right? But yeah, 5th house, like I said, it's all about dating and romance too. So you can kind of see like how you date. It's not really about serious like long-term relationships. That's like 7th house. But this is like just like your dating life. So if you have Mars in the 5th house, you're probably you like to date a lot, or you might like to, I don't know, you like to have fun with dating. Like it's just something fun for you, or it might be like a competitive thing for you. And then again, touching on the creativity piece, I think like we can see how we really like to express ourselves creatively, right? Sometimes if you have like Saturn in the 5th house, you might restrict your creativity. Whereas if you had Jupiter in the 5th house, you like to expand your creativity. So it all depends on the planets you have there, the sign that rules your 5th house, and how that manifests into your life is really how you creatively express yourself, how you date, who you date, your children, your future children. And it just overall represents to me like how you like to have fun, how you like to socialize, how you like to be entertained. Okay, so let's talk about the 6th house. Okay, so 6th house is naturally ruled by Virgo. 6th house is all about routine. It's all about your daily work, kind of like your work ethic as well. It also represents your diet and your health. And 6th house also represents boundaries too, and kind of how we create boundaries for ourselves. So 6th house, you can really see it manifesting in your life as what you do on a day-to-day basis, what you do daily. If you're somebody who works every day, this shows you kind of like how you fit into the work dynamic at your job, especially the planets you have there or whatever house ruler you have. It's like it shows you your day-to-day work life and how that really manifests in your life. And of course, like I said, it represents your daily routine. So for example, like I have Sun in the 6th house. So my daily routine is really important to me and my identity. Like if I don't, like I have to have a certain diet every day and a certain routine for me to feel like balanced. You know what I mean? So you can resonate with that too if you have certain planets in the 6th house where it's like you feel like it's really important to have a routine, really important to have a schedule. And that's how I am because I have Sun in the 6th house, but that can apply to you as well. And then like I said, 6th house really represents health too. So like I said, if you're having health issues, you can check what planets are transiting your 6th house, or maybe you have like certain planets in your 6th house. Like let's say you have the moon in the 6th house. That can represent sometimes you have like fluctuating health issues. You have Uranus in the 6th house. You might have like health issues that go up and down. So it all depends. And with 6th house, I just think about this Virgo energy. I think Virgo is all about planning and like creating boundaries and creating schedules. And you can really see that with your own 6th house and how that really like manifest in your life. So like I said, whatever planets you have there, it really shows you how organized you can be, how structured you can be with your life. Like I said, if you have Sun in the 6th house, you might be very structured about your life. Like it's very important to you to be organized. So just think about that. And another important thing is that it represents your work ethic. So like how hard you work to achieve things. What kind of work ethic you have. Are you consistent? Are you lazy? Like you could really see that with the 6th house. So yeah, overall takeaways for the 6th house are that it really represents boundaries, work ethic, health, diet, and daily routine. Also your work life as well. So yeah, comment down below your house placements and if you really resonate with them, and tell me like how they manifest in your life, because house placements can really manifest in different ways. So go ahead and comment down below, tell me your house placements, and if you learned something in this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you a part of my Astro community. If you want your own personal reading, go to my website, theastrokit.com, and I'll see you guys in my next video.